Welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Steve Van Niederstein, and thank you for joining me today as I go ahead and read the last reading of March for James Allen's Daily Meditations. It's been just a roller coaster of a month. Fantastic last couple days, especially. I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap it up. Again, it seems to be the months end pretty well so far. So this will end the first quarter of the year, and tomorrow will start the second on April 1st. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say today. So this will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that this will be the first time reading it on the podcast with you. So you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. So here we go. James Allen's Daily Meditation for March 31st. Love is far beyond the reach of all selfish argument and can only be lived. Jesus gave to the world a code of rules by the observance of which all men could become sons of God, could live the perfect life. These rules or precepts are so simple, direct, and unmistakable that it is impossible to misunderstand them. So plain and unequivocal are they that even an unlettered child could grasp their meaning without difficulty. All of them are directly related to human conduct and can be applied only by the individual in his own life. To carry out the spirit of these rules in one's daily conduct constitutes the whole duty of life and lifts the individual into the full consciousness of his divine origin and nature, of his oneness with God, the supreme good. Men everywhere, in their innermost hearts, know that goodness is divine. He's talking about actions today. What a great thing to talk about right here as we finish up March. Actions. What do our actions say about us? He opened right up with it in the first line. Love is far beyond the reach of all selfish argument and can only be lived. How is true, authentic love, that principle, that value, how does that manifest in your life? How does that influence and guide your behaviors? Talking and arguing if you are being a loving person or not is quite besides counterproductive, frivolous. It really has no meaning. Love is shown. Love is seen in behaviors. And that's something very important to remember, or at least it is for me. Giving something lip service and just talking about it doesn't do much to actually help build your character, change your thoughts and your heart. It's how you live your life on a day-to-day basis. And that's pretty important. It's a pretty strong first line. And he gets into some Christian verbiage here, and it's got a great message to it too. Jesus gave to the world a code of rules, and I believe he's talking about Sermon on the Mount, which was explained very well, in my own personal opinion, by Emmett Fox in his book called Sermon on the Mount. And he says, gave to the world a code of rules, by the observation of which all men could become sons of God, could live the perfect life. If you want to be righteous in your actions and living and behavior and character, he's saying you just need to practice the set of instructions found in Sermon on the Mount. And that book has been something that was also extremely influential on a guy like me. I read that book a couple years into my sobriety, probably 2, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and behaviors and how to conduct yourself and things like that, and which now in retrospect seem relatively obvious of how to live. But when you really tear that stuff apart, when you really get into the nitty-gritty of this things, like, and you're going to end up asking yourself, do I actually practice the principle he's talking about right now? And if you can be honest with yourself, you'll be able to make some progress. These rules or precepts are so simple, direct, and unmistakable that it is impossible to misunderstand them. And I needed them to be that. And a lot of James Allen's writings are like that as well. They're very much concise. Like, he doesn't give much room for wiggle room. He doesn't give much room for open interpretation so I can make it suit my own selfish desire. And that is important, because we will all read it with our own perspective and our own bias and our own misunderstanding, even though we don't intend to be misunderstanding. It's just the nature of the beast. So the simpler, more direct, and unmistakable these truths are conveyed, the more they will be followed, the more they will be understood and comprehended. So the simplicity is essential. He goes on to say, so plain and unequivocal that are they, that even an unlettered child could grasp their meaning without difficulty. I mean, an uneducated child, right? That's unlettered. Unproven almost child can grasp their meaning almost instantly. All of them are directly related to human conduct, how we actually behave. Actions, we're coming back to action again. How do you act and behave in your day-to-day life? And can be applied only by the individual in his own life. These are not laws of this world that you can hold someone up against and punish them for. These have to be laws that are read, understood, and applied intentionally with one's own desire to do so. You have to choose to live this life. You have to choose to practice these principles. You have to choose to live differently. Anything short of choosing to do those things is most certainly a failure. He goes on again, to carry out the spirit of these rules in one's daily conduct constitutes the whole duty of life. The whole duty of life. That is a big statement and what he's saying here is to carry out a life of truth and honesty and to practice the principles that were being talked about in Sermon on the Mount is our sole duty in life, our whole duty in life. Our duty in life is to live well, is to be healthy, to practice these principles that were being given here and see where life can take us. It's a great groundwork and framework to adopt and start growing into and see just in general, where can it take us? You'll be surprised if you allow the journey to just go where it is, ever it's going to go. To carry out the spirit of these rules in one's daily conduct constitutes the whole duty in life and lifts the individual into the full consciousness of his divine origin and nature. It brings us out of the self-serving, pleasure-seeking person of flesh to someone who stands on a spiritual ground. And we have set aside those desires. We have set aside those self-indulgences. And we have chosen to live this spiritual way of life. And when we do that, we get lifted into the full consciousness of his divine origin and nature. We start to comprehend these things a little bit more, understand and apply them a little bit more, of his oneness with God. So when we do this also, we can start to understand our relationship with God and how we are a part of him. And again, God doesn't necessarily need to be a deity. You can say society, you can say one with goodness, and how you can be aligned with that. There's a lot of different things you can use to have a power greater than yourself. I reference the God terminology often. But that is just how I speak about it. And the supreme good he also calls God. How we can be in line with that even through strife and even through pain. He goes ahead and closes it with, men everywhere in their innermost hearts know that goodness is divine. It's been debated, but I do believe on some level there is an understanding of right and wrong, and I do believe on some level almost everyone knows these spiritual laws and principles and practices will lead us to goodness, and goodness will lead us to peace and strength and serenity and love and power. We must practice this honestly before that can happen. So, anyway, great talk today. Great way to finish out March. I'm not disappointed at all talking about taking the spiritual actions and actually growing from them and just being willing to incorporate these into our lives. Yesterday we talked about how a person lives dictates whether they can teach these things. And today's is about how a person lives can either bring chaos or order into your life too. So, thank y'all for joining me today, though. I'm looking forward to April 1st and to see what we have kicking off for the month of April, since these first 3 months really just were eye-opening in some ways and great things to revisit. So I'm just grateful to have been able to continue to participate in this, and I will see you all on April 1st. So until next time, thanks.